Today is March the 4th. It's my daughter's birthday, or it would have been her 36th birthday today. Not ever a good day for me. But since I'm here with you guys, and I'm going to be allowed to vent some of this, and it's going to make it easier for me. And I appreciate that. I wanted to use my opening line here and tell you that I am the mother of a murder victim, and that I am also an accessory to murder. I am an accessory to the state murder of Mr. Hearns tonight, and every other person who has been executed and will be executed in the future, as are all of us. Our tax dollars pay to help kill these people. We vote for people who kill people. Therefore, we are accessories to the loss of their lives. I'll tell you about my story, and most of you know my story. And I'm making these people here. My daughter was raped and murdered here in Austin at a Pizza Hut where she worked, 7 o'clock in the morning. Apparently, from what the police told me, 2 young men went in the building. They had a key. She recognized one of them, said, "Hey, Chris, what's up?" They then pulled the gun on her. She opened the safe, gave them all the money. They raped her at least 8 times. They sodomized her repeatedly. They had oral sex with her repeatedly. They bathed her in the ladies' bathroom to wash away any evidence. Tied her hands behind her back with her bra, and put her on her knees and made her to beg for her life before they shot her in the back of the head. She did not die immediately. About a month later, they picked up Christopher Ochoa and Richard Danziger for this crime. They had gone to the Pizza Hut after it had reopened, where she died, to drink a beer in her memory. And that's not a crime, that's bad judgment, I think, but it's not illegal. They talked to the security guard, Richard Danziger did, about did they have any evidence, if they have any suspects. And it made the manager of the Pizza Hut suspicious, so he called the police. And they picked up Richard Danziger and Christopher Ochoa. I'll tell you what these 2 young men were like. Richard Danziger is a very strong personality, street smart kid. 18 years old, been in some minor trouble with the police, but nothing serious. He was a real smart aleck. Very dominating personality. Christopher Ochoa was 20 years old, came from a good Catholic family, high school star at his high school, never been in trouble with the police, never even been in a police station in his life. Very timid, shy young man. When the police got these 2 young men in there, and of course they separated them right off, and they went in and told Richard Danziger, you need to confess, because whoever confesses first is going to get life and the other's going to get the death penalty. And he told them, go themselves. You're not scared of me. I didn't do anything. I'm not saying I did. But Christopher Ochoa was a different story. He was scared. He was scared to death. He was so scared he had broke out in a sweat and a rash, and they questioned him for 12 straight hours, no food, no water, and even after he asked for a lawyer, no lawyer. They told him he didn't need a lawyer, he wasn't been charged with anything. Then they took, this was a Friday, they took him and checked him into the Holiday Inn for the weekend. The police did. Now, I don't know what happened at that Holiday Inn, because Chris has never said, to my knowledge. But when they brought him back Monday morning, he was ready to sign a confession that he didn't even read, written by a detective, the head detective of this case. I don't know about you, but I cannot imagine the terror that would make someone do that. They poked him in the arm with a fountain pen to show him where the lethal injection was going to go. They used the death penalty as a weapon instead of a deterrent. They told him they were going to put him downstairs in some cells with some men who would know what to do with young, fresh meat like him. He was terrified. So his thinking, okay, I'm going to sign this confession. As soon as I get my lawyer, I'm going to tell him, you know, that's all bull. So he did. He got a public defender, and the first thing he told him was, I'm innocent. I didn't do this. I just signed that so they would stop. And his lawyer, his public defender, told him, son, you better take this deal or they're gonna kill you. They're gonna execute you. You don't have a chance. So he did. He did. He took the life sentence thinking, okay, when I get out of this mess, then I can tell somebody that this is all lies and it'll be fixed. Not the way the system works in Texas. It doesn't get fixed. So Chris testified against Richard Dansinger to all these horrible details of what they had done to my daughter. And Richard was also given a life sentence. And I think Richard would have been given a life sentence regardless of Chris's testimony because he was so calloused. He would, even though he would sit in the courtroom, he would turn around in his chair and just glare at me. I mean, just glare at me, and he would snicker and laugh, and he was very belligerent, and insisted on taking the stand in his own behalf, which was a very bad thing for him to do. When the district attorney asked him, how do you feel about Nancy's death, he said, hey, what can I say, the chick's dead. You're gone, you're guilty, that's all you had to say. And the jury was appalled. You could see it on their faces, just like I just saw it on yours. But you know what? All these things I just told you actually happened. Except for none of it happened that way. And they didn't do it. And all those horrible things about sodomy and rape, and repeated rape and oral sex, none of those things happened. Except in the mind of the detective who prosecuted this case, who investigated this case. Because the more heinous the crime, the more important the detective who solves it. Christopher was repeatedly rehearsed for his testimony in court. The last time being right before he took the stand in the district attorney's office. These young men spent 12 years in Huntsville. 12 years of their lives. Because of course once he got to prison, Chris realized if you don't admit your guilt, you don't ever get paroled. So all he wanted to do was do his time and get out and just be left alone. While they were in prison, Richard Dansinger was attacked by another inmate and kicked in the head with steel-toed boots until he was brain damaged. They actually had to remove a damaged part of his brain. He will forever continue to serve his life sentence in his own mind. He'll never be free again. Chris, on the other hand, is now a first-year law student at the University of Wisconsin and doing really well, which is the Innocence Project that helped him get released. He wrote to them, said, you are my last hope. I am so desperate. I did not do this. And they began to investigate it. And another man in 1996 came forward and started confessing to this crime. He wrote letters to the Austin Police Department, the Travis County District Attorney's Office, the Austin Statesman, and even then Governor George Bush. big letters, confession of murder, 16 pages he sent to George Bush. And in that letter he said to him, if you choose to ignore this letter as everyone else has, you at least have a moral obligation to notify these young men's families and attorneys. He didn't. He filed it. And on the campaign trail, when he was running for president, and they asked him about it, he said, I have no legal obligation to pass that on. This is our compassionate president.